Do you prefer Matt or Matthew?
You know what I tell my clients? Whatever they remember. Because my Chaldean friends call me Mateo, and there's Matthew, and there's Matt. And then I have Jamaican friends that call me Mateus. So however he remembers the grade.
All right. Welcome to Falcon Forward. My name is Peter Brecht. I'm here with my co-host and president of our company, Mike Tanghe. And our guest today, our very first guest ever on the podcast, is Matthew Portillo, who is one of the insurance brokers at our company. So, Matthew, how are you doing? Excited to have you on as our very first.
Right on. Yep. Excited to be here, testing out the podcast episodes and see how that works with my lifestyle. Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just kind of getting to this point, right? Talking about video and audio and how it all kind of goes together, right? At the end of it. So you're the second broker that I talked to at Falcon. It was actually, well, third, we have Mike, we have Bill, and then there's Matthew, in kind of that order of people that I talked to as I was getting into the company. And I'll tell you, the difference between like Mike and Bill is definitely, there's definitely a difference in personality and how you guys manage things. And then when I met you, I was like, man, this guy, he's just so laid back and cool and like wears a hat. And like, I think I might call this episode Men with Hats just because we're all wearing a hat today. But
Right on.
I guess I wanted to learn like a little bit more about like your background, like what got you to insurance to begin with.
Ooh, that goes a long ways back. I haven't had like a lot of jobs. So when we started off early, I think I was 13, paper route, and just, I guess I knew I needed to work my whole life. So did the paper route through school. It was horrible. You had to wake up early and grind away in the cold weather. Grew up in San Diego, national city. And there's really, my dad was a truck driver. There was really no like bouncing stuff. Oh, I'm going to own a business or I'm going to do this. Everyone was kind of every direction. So after high school, I kind of knew I didn't want to go to college. You know, some people aspire to be college. For me, school's boring. I did trig in the ninth grade and I quit because I was like, well, if I'm going to keep doing this, might as well be an engineer. So that was my other occupation. I was going to be an engineer. But after that, I went and worked Frito Lay chips, loaded trucks. Never knew they were going to be so heavy chips. So I did that for a year. Woke up at 3 a.m, ended them up. Like when I was 18 years old, you got all these sales guys relying on an 18-year-old to open up the whole place. I was late twice. So when you see daylight, I was late. They're mad at me. Well, it lasted about a year. And then from there, I had a sister-in-law and she worked for AAA. So that was about 19 years old, went to AAA. Started for very first thing was right when you're walking in AAA, you're a greeter. So I did the greeter for like a week, then went and did cashiering for like 3 or 4 years, somewhere around there. So cashiering back in the days was traveler's checks. You got to go with traveler's checks out of country. So I did that. And then I looked at these guys across the way and looked at the cars and I just started following the money. So I'm like, oh, what do these guys do? They sold insurance. So I eventually moved over to the insurance side. And from there, just kind of learned from the very beginning of insurance. And they send you to training. You go up to the university at AAA up in like Costa Mesa area, stay out there for like 3 months and give you the whole rigmarole. And then I just climbed the ladder and became the manager of the customer service reps, as we call them, either CSRs, like our account managers and so forth. And then I started training sales agents. But back in the days, this is many years and moons ago, like 30 years ago, what did you need to be in the sales field? They wanted you to have a degree. So there was my blockade, was the degree part. I'm like, I'm training these guys and you couldn't get a job there, right? They just kept giving it to their kids and so forth. So at the very end, I was like, I was done. And it just so happened I trained one girl who worked for Falcon West. And she was like, I'm done with insurance. You want to interview? And our past president, which was Kurt Volk, we interviewed 30 minutes later. And I asked him for everything that I wanted, 3 weeks of vacation. I just asked him for exactly what I was getting. And then I'll run the show here. It's easy. And then he gave me the job. And from there, I just started. That was kind of hard because I worked with one carrier. When you go to the broker side, you work for all these carriers. And so that became the question upon question of asking, how do you do all this stuff?
Was Falcon West writing personal lines, Matthew, when you started
Yeah.
at the time?
Yeah, they were writing personal lines. They're still about the same, like an 80-20 split. So
Okay.
I would say maybe like 1.5 million book of business. I jumped right into it and managed the whole thing all by myself.
Okay.
And so you had, it was Kurt, Ryan, and Tom. So you got 3 producers sending new business all the time, phone calls coming in. So you're trying to write all that business and service the account. So they would give me a phone number. That's it. It's not like today's date. You get a phone number and you sell packages. So from there, I changed everything paperless. I just took all my AAA knowledge and changed it all paperless, right? Way back a long time ago. And then kind of guided the owner, Kurt, at that time, like, we should go this path because that's the way all the agencies or the insurance real companies go. Let's follow them. So that was just like maybe like a 5-year journey. He gave me the opportunity to work, create a book of business on my own and do the personal line. So that was kind of hard because it was full time at work. And then I would work till sometimes midnight with my own clients. And eventually I had enough where I'm like, I'm done, figure out how to run the personal lines. I'm going to turn the key and it's time for me to go off and run with it. And then so he just allowed me to do it without losing any money, be able to live with the same money that I had from AAA. So he actually gave me a good gig until it was time to learn everything.
And remind me again what year that was, Matthew, when you first joined?
2000 of September.
Okay, September
so
2000.
Anybody that comes past me in this podcast, I am the longest person here.
That's why you're our first guest on it. So that's awesome.
Did you, like, you said that you were a greeter at AAA. So for all of us newbies, like, I mean, I think of a greeter at like Costco or Walmart or something like that because they still have, but you're talking about insurance. So like, what would you do as a greeter? I mean, obviously everyone that was looking for insurance, sounds like you went to a physical building, maybe called in. Could you walk us through like the old school version?
You had to wear a tie, full on everything, dressed up. And then, they still have them today. So it's just, you're the front counter person. So you're just going to stand in line. And then that's when it splits to every department. You get their membership card, check them in, see what they want to do. They might have a bunch of things they want to do and then put them to wherever they need to go first. And then they would just sit and wait and transfer to each department from there. So
interesting.
You just met persons at the very beginning.
Yeah. All right. That's a good picture of what I would expect, and probably not something that we would ever adopt here, but I had to ask. Very, very interesting. So I guess I'll kind of move forward here, because another thing like that's been sort of a guidepost for me, right, is always been mentorship, right? And I think I threw this question to you at our pregame when we were talking, like, okay, what are we going to talk about? But I was asking you, like, is there a moment when maybe like you had a mentor in the insurance industry that maybe changed how you either looked at the job, or maybe there was like a transition point? Like, any stories on that, or like a recollection, or no?
So on that, I thought about it a lot, and each person had their own play in how I moved forward, whether it was the customer service. We had a Joe Blazy back in the days. She was like 30-year underwriter. She actually helped me with every question that I had. It took a long time because she was slow at explaining, but that was my daily go-to person for the questions. Then you have Kurt, who came from Germany, not knowing English, and then eventually ended up in the insurance business and found his way to make some money. So I looked at it as any mentor, they just started from the ground zero. So I wish we had a program like we do today, like you are physically doing your intern program and step by step of where you need to be. And these clients, you want to go after a little bit bigger clients and develop a cleaner book of business. I wish I kind of had that, but in my game and back then it was just feast or famine. So you're kind of going out every direction without knowing how to do it. So that's why Bill, sometimes Mike, sometimes yourself come to me, because I've seen every business there's been and I've done some weird things and made it work. It wasn't the greatest way because it became hard at the very end, but now I'm focused and streamlined. Mike came aboard. He kind of like taught me how to, do business a little bit differently and so forth. So I think pieces of everybody kind of played into the whole thing. As far as how I came to where I am, I think it's all self-taught. I mean, I just kept on going, trying to figure it out. I wish there was a game plan back in the days. I would have been so far ahead, like 5 times ahead. But unfortunately, that's just how it works. There wasn't no simple Google or Chat GPT or all the AI at your fingertips back then. I mean, I came in right after paperwork. Right after, there's some still I actually physically had to rate by paper. on personal lines and commercial.
Yeah, you'd mentioned you were a pretty self-driven individual, right? And it's
Mhm.
I think it's an important thing for any broker to have is that sort of internal direction, right? If it's coming from exterior sources, you might have a hard time figuring this one out.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
I get a question or kind of point of clarity. Was Nancy then the person that came on board when you moved from working within the personal lines department to going out on your own, or who was that person that came in after you?
It was either Nancy or Laura, but I'm pretty sure it was Nancy.
Okay.
And Nancy came in, so we were there at the same time. So personal lines, we actually, our old office, we rented another suite across the way, and we had our own little office for personal lines because we had another producer that came in and brought a book of business and so forth. So we had Nancy, Laura, and myself, and then I just kind of trained them. They were kind of in the insurance field before, but did it on the retail side where people walk in, different type of business.
Okay.
So then trained them up this way, and then eventually I kind of went off from there, maybe about
Okay.
a year later.
That's awesome. Painting in or filling in the fuzzy details from my memory, but that's
Yeah.
awesome. So
Thank God I can remember still.
The history of Falcon West is like, it's so intriguing to me, just like how it kind of started. And it seems kind of like just a lot of good people ended up working together and it kind of started to take shape. And now we're at a point where, I don't know, it feels like there's a little more structure to it, but it's just so cool to hear the history about it.
Mm-hmm.
I love how businesses develop. Like you really don't know how they're going to come together, but here we are and it's a lot of fun. So, um, outside of work, so I think one of your profile photos is like you mountain biking, and it looks insanely intense. But and then other times I call you and you're like, oh man, I'm going to I'll be at the beach. You seem like you're very active, but outside of work, which I know is probably not as much time as you would like. You spend a lot of time with your clients and working on that stuff. But like, what do you enjoy doing outside of your day to day?
Outside day to day, as you see behind me, there's a lot of stuff going on with raw wood, but I'm doing a
Okay,
full renovation of a cabin
right on.
in Lake Julian. And maybe one day that I'll either live here or vacation rental, whatever it might be. But that takes up a part of my time. But at the same time, I can ride from here to start my mountain biking in the forest. So it's a little bit different living out here, but at the same time, it still has all the unique characteristics I like. It has fishing out right across the street and mountain biking. And then with my girlfriend, we go about every 5 months, maybe to 6 months. We go out to Hawaii, and then we do a lot of paddleboarding out there. So we get the relaxed life out there, slow down the pace from all this craziness in California. And that's like a recharge button. And that's my recharge button to keep going. You wake up a little bit earlier because when it's 3 hours behind, you're at 5 a.m., but you get off about 2:30. Everyone starts to calm down and call from the calls. But yeah, I think I'm hoping for future. I mean, I plan to train this year and hopefully get into a couple more races is my plan for enduro mountain biking.
Okay.
I'll be in the 50 plus bracket, a little bit older. The ground is a little bit harder than it used to be. It's harder to get up, but I think I could do it. I mean, that's the plan. It's just I need to carve out that time, and us with Mike giving us the right platform, the right account managers, the right service managers that we have in our office, it allows me to break free during the day and do that. Where our time is precious. Time, it's not all about the money all and every day. So I think we're set up pretty good where I can work at 8, 10 o'clock and do my thing in the daytime and whatever it might be.
Yeah. Have you ever done any of the downhill mountain biking? Like my one of my nephews does that, and like they go all the way to the top of it. I mean, it's insane how
Yeah.
fast they go, but I don't know. That seems like a fun thing that I would want to try. Maybe not at this age. I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel I think I'm younger than I am, but a broken bone at any age after like 25 is devastating. So
all
anyways.
those trails are we pretty much do, except the crazy red downhill ones with you need a bigger bike with bigger suspension. But for the most part, we do about 90% of them, which is pretty fun.
Okay. Good to know.
Sometimes you're on the ground, sometimes you're catching air.
Name somebody that you look up to and why you look up to them. Like, or who should we like? That's another way to put that is like, is there somebody that maybe you like to listen to or read or pay attention to that maybe we're not thinking about?
I guess my parents. My dad was always a hard worker. We didn't really come from too much. Born in National City. He had 16 brothers and sisters, believe it or not.
Whoa, that's crazy.
back in the days,
A
there
lot
was
of
a meat
people.
packing plant. Yeah. Back in the days, there's a meat packing plant. Like this is long before me. And it was off of 24th and the 5 freeway. So a little bit south of San Diego. And they were butcher. And that's where a couple of the kids worked. They took off all the scraps from the ground. That's how they fed the kids too back then.
Man.
So then he was a
Wow.
part of the OTNC group, which you'll know it as OTNC under the Coronado Bridge. And that was kind of like their gangs back then. Gangs were a lot different back then. And that's kind of more family type of situation. But from them, he was a truck driver, truck driver. So I don't know, he was hardworking. So that's how I kind of focus my life is just hardworking. But my mom, she started work randomly at 57 years old. Went to a little bit of school, just like learning a few things, but she got a job at a school district. And believe it or not, she retired. And she get like a retirement check. Oh, times were tough back then. So that's what had to happen. She worked 10 years and now she's still working, unfortunately, at 80 plus because my dad has Alzheimer's. So that's a 24-hour gig. No elephant up top. There you go.
Yeah.
Alzheimer's.
That's a tough one. Have family going through that as well. And it's definitely takes a lot more effort. And I don't know, but it's good to hear that she's able to help with that. And it's so you are like probably one of the most San Diego people that I've met then. I mean, like I feel like I'm a San Diegan, right? Like I was born and raised here and I spent my whole life here, but then you start going back into like a different like level of history with that and being I think further like closer to downtown, like and just the Chula Vista area, and it really seems to be the case that it's still your community. Like you're very much involved in that area. Is that the case, you think?
Yeah, most of my business is in San Diego. When I was back in AAA, side note, we were like right next to the El Cortez Hotel. It used to be called the El Cortez Hotel. And that's where that downtown AAA building was there. So they were there as long as they could until all those sky rises start coming and all the property got bought up. Kind of like what they're doing now with the apartments. They're buying up every little corner. That's what happened in downtown San Diego.
Yeah.
But yeah. That's kind of stuck in that whole area the whole time. And even today, most of my clients are either East County or San Diego County.
Yeah. Okay.
Pretty small
Very
circle.
Cool. If you had to go back as a broker and like start over again, like let's say I put you in a whole new town and I said, look, you've got a phone and a computer and a car. Like, how would you start your new book? Like if you had to start over and obviously we don't want this to happen, but I'd like to know, like, what would your process be?
Well, that's involves two things. If I had money or didn't have money, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah,
let's say I
don't
didn't
know.
have money, right?
Yeah.
I'll probably research the best networking group I could find and cultivate the business a little bit differently. Focus on zero negativity out there because, there's business owners. It's always too expensive to do this, but then there's the other business owners that thrive off of it. So I would probably navigate through there to find the right clientele a little bit better, a little bit bigger businesses, and focus on if I can get a bigger premium, why write all the smaller premiums? They'll come anyways as we go along. I kind of wish I had the whole intern program that you guys have to offer, that's for sure. That would have been way helpful. But just listening on those topics, I think that's the way to go. We got to train people, And the weird part is there's a gap in our industry. The gap is where's all the young people? Can't everyone be on TikTok eventually? That market changes at all times, right? It's going to weed out all of them. So I think our businesses, is it real? Can you make a career out of us? I proved it from ground zero, making hardly nothing. If I look at direct writers and what those sales agents make, they have good training and everything, but there's like a cap to it and they always have to be that 9 to 5. So independency is great. Sorry, beating off the subject, but that's what I would do if I had to move to a different state and randomly come with lots of networking at the appropriate spots instead of the smaller spots that I used to do.
Would you pick a particular niche or would you still want to be a generalist? Like let's say you're in an area that has like a lot of logging or construction, or would you want to be like, look, I like working with the community, right? There's two ways to approach it seems. Which one would you probably lean into?
I would have the niche on the forefront, probably top 5.
Okay.
And then of those top fives, which are the easiest to penetrate to get into?
Yeah.
And then
What's your knowledge, right?
from there,
Yeah.
do the general secondary. So
Gotcha.
always look at general secondary because it's going to come no matter what.
So we're coming up on time, and I want to, but there's like I learned so much, and I selfishly like I'm sitting here, I'm trying to be the student from Matthew, and then at the same time Mike. So I'm going to ask you guys both the same question. Matthew, I'll ask you first, but which conversations should insurance brokerages, so companies like Falcon West, be having with clients that maybe we're not having or like avoiding almost altogether? Like what would be some things that you'd want to talk about that maybe we're not in the industry?
In the industry, I think business owners, even homeowners, they're used to certain dollar amounts per what they own or business that they own. And I think we strive to talk about it a little bit more. I see there's a gap in it because a lot of people that call me, they don't understand at all. Why is my premium 35% more, not just 10%? So I think that is a huge thing of just mentioning why a possibility. I think I like that as well, and show them the right, proper way of getting past that hurdle. In my experience, since I kind of know their business a lot through all those years, it's like, okay, if it's a restaurant, there's nothing wrong with increasing your prices a quarter. They probably already done it more. So forecast the next few increases and do it next year based on this. Because a lot of times people already figured that out to increase the other premiums and pass them off a little bit.
Yeah, there was something to that point, and then I know Michael jump in with his answer, but you're one of the very first people that showed me, if you're working with like a general contractor or a company that's bidding on an hourly basis, like they want to know, what their hourly rate is for their insurance so that they can kind of back themselves into a proper a quoting position, right? So I thought that was pretty cool when he showed me that. I like geeked out over it for probably a solid 2 hours, just trying to like, okay, how could I apply this to my own process, right? So, but anyways, over to Mike. Same question, but is there something that brokerages are maybe not talking about in the industry with our clients, or maybe because of your position being leading the company, right? Is there something we need to be talking about more often?
So the short answer is nothing comes to mind that we're not talking about, but I would say the conversation that we're constantly having with people, especially prospects to our agency that we've been introduced to, is how to use insurance and how to use it the best way. And it's not like a warranty program that, I had a little loss, I'll turn it into the insurance company because it's, greater than my deductible. It's, you really want your insurance to be saved for a catastrophic type event, a significant impacting event. And that can differ for, the size of the company or the homeowner or individual, but you really don't want we sell something that you hopefully never ever have to use in theory, because if you are using it and that's something that's gone wrong and you really want to save that insurance. So even if you've, have a decent sized claim that, no one likes to pay things out of pocket. We always like someone else to have to pick it up. But if you recognize that, hey, ultimately, whatever I file is going to impact me in the future, and that could be through increased premiums, but it could also be in eligibility to qualify for the best insurance. So you really, and again, conversations that we are having with our folks, but that a lot of the industry necessarily isn't, is you want to save this for, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing that ever happened. What's going to allow me to open my doors again tomorrow, or what's going to not impact my lifestyle? It's having proper insurance there to try and make you whole.
Right. Yeah, it kind of evens out the rough spots and keeps you moving, right? That's a great point. I think and I know this from experience and working with all the brokers like in the company, that we definitely strive to have that conversation. And but again, not something until I was introduced to Falcon West that was ever brought up as a point like to actually talk about. I've talked to other brokerages, I've talked to other brokers. I love doing it. To like learn their process, but I think we're one of the few places that'll actually bring that up as part of the things that we want to talk about regularly. So very good point there. I just want to say thank you guys, and we'll jump in next week. But if you have any questions for Matthew, his email, I think it's matthew@falconwest.com, right? We didn't put your last initial on there.
No.
And then you can always reach out to us through YouTube as well. So thank you guys for being here, and we will see you again next week.
And I just want to real quick thank Peter, and then just thank Matthew. Again, that history that he has that predates anyone else at Falcon West. That's something that I take pride in. And I'm appreciative of it, and something that we want to make sure that the Falcon West story keeps going. And it's folks like Matthew that were the first ones of the remaining crew. So that's pretty awesome.
Appreciate it,
Absolutely.
guys.
Thanks, Matthew. Later.
All right.